why I believe in God. I like to ask different people because the general answer I know. I mean, I think everybody sort of knows why some people think we should believe in God. But I like to hear the nuances, the way people describe it, articulate it. So from a Islamic point of view, from your own personal view, I mean, what is the benefit for believing in God?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah. It's a fair.
So what's the best answer you've ever heard for that? Have you thought about it?
Yeah, no, I'm not sure I can tell you that there's a best answer. The answer is generally operative in terms of the person. How it'll benefit you, and what's the benefit for you, and I guess what I'm looking for is answers that are not as obvious as that.
Sure. Well, for me, I don't feel like I have a choice. I don't really. I could give you a lot of whys, but for me, God is so self-evident that to not deny him would like denying my own existence. Personally, I really feel that. I really feel it's impossible for me to not believe in God, because everything to me confirms God, and I've seen that in my own life, and I feel, there's a wonderful poem by Robert Frost about looking at the ocean. You ever seen that poem? The people along the sand, they all look one way, they turn their backs on the land, they look at the sea all day. Well, and then he says, the land may vary more, but wherever the truth may be, the people turn their backs and look at the sea. And it strikes me as, why do people look at the ocean? Because the land does vary more. What is it? What's the fascination with looking at the ocean? And I feel like a believer is the ones he's looking at the ocean, and the disbeliever is looking at the land. And then when the believer sees the whale, look at this, turn around, look, did you see? And then it's gone. And I feel like when you accept God, God will continually show you reasons to continue to believe in God. And when you reject him, there's a verse in the Quran that says that we will remove our signs from people that show arrogance in the earth. And they can see every sign and they will not believe. And so the most important thing is the Catholics have this tradition of the skeptic's prayer, which I actually really like. This idea of just saying, God, I don't know if you're there, but if you're there, help me find you. And I think if somebody really genuinely prayed that prayer, I think God would show up. And so I just believe God is real, and I believe that God does present that reality to people that are willing to just humble themselves and say, I believe.
Yeah, I easily can see myself in that position because I really do want to. It's just that I worry about fooling myself. I'm not worried about others fooling me. I'm egotistical enough to know that no one can fool me. You can't fool me, but I can fool myself. So that's what scares me.
Well, the devil might be able to fool you too.
Well, I maybe I should worry about that.
They say his, Tilliard famously said his greatest trick was convincing people he didn't exist. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think I'm very much in control of what I believe and how I believe and how I articulate to myself. But I really do feel fooling myself because I really do want to believe.
Yeah.
And it's very easy for hope to swamp reason. And yet I understand that reason in its rigorous sense may be an inhibition to see God, because many people have told me that. Many people criticize what we do, the part of Closer to Truth that deals with meaning and search for God, by saying it's all intellectual. And you can't intellectually know God, that you have to do it experientially. Yeah. And my comeback to that is not that they're wrong.
Right.
They may be right, but I cannot discern the difference between the wheat and the chaff, if there's any wheat at all. I can intellectually, but I cannot experientially.
Right.
And does that put me in an impossible situation where I'm rejecting the only real evidence?
Right. Well, I think again another why is, for me, is that it seems to be the most obvious explanation for being here and being as coherent as we are. The fact that our minds are so beautifully correspondent with creation itself. I mean, how could we know something like the universal law of gravity? Like, how could our minds be so matched to the universe to know that? How could we work out things like fine-tuning and the anthropic principle? How could we determine Van Allen's belts and these things? I mean, it's quite stunning what the human mind has been capable of doing. And that mind is constantly generating thought. And where does that thought come from? Jalaluddin Rumi says, silence, ask God, and the answers will come.